Hello, my name is Oliver Glanz and I'm a professor of Old Testament at Andrews University. In this video tutorial I would like to show you how to run simple word searches in Accordance Bible software. So what you see here is on the left the ESV translation and then here the Nestle-Aland translation. I want to show you three different ways that are available in Accordance Bible software for searching words. The first way is basically by right-clicking on your word and then click on search for, and here at the ESV you have basically two different possibilities: click on word or on key number. If you click on word, let's here use a verb. Let's go here to John chapter 1 verse 1. Okay, let's say mate. So you click on search for word. Now what you see is we will find all the cases where the word made appears. You could also search for the key number. Now the key number is basically searching for the Strong's number. That is in our case, since we're in the New Testament at this moment, a Greek word that is the source for the English translation made. Now if I'm clicking on this, you'll see that we have different English words appear here in the ESV. Place, become, accomplished, done, be, done. Well, what they all have in common that they are a translation of the same Greek word, ginomai. You see ginomai here on the, when you move here to the display, the instant display window, it will tell you it's all ginomai. So another way for searching in the ESV is search for and then word flex. Now when you search for word flex, you'll find all words that come with, well, make doesn't seem to be the, all words that appear in conjugated or declinated forms. Here we have verbs or conjugated forms. So you see here it will find also make as well as mate, as well as makes, or all deviations of that lexical form to make. So these options are available here at the ESV. When you go to the Greek text, you will find very similar abilities for searching. You can search for and then you click for lexeme. That is basically any, for example, N from Amy, that will say we'll find any case of the lexical form Amy in whatever conjugation available. So you see here we have an imperfect form, or here we have a participle form, well, you see we have different tenses and different verbal modes available here. So this is when you are searching for the lexeme. You can also search for the inflected form. Inflected means it's going to search for exactly that inflection. That's where you see N, 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 N. So in all cases, you find that third singular imperfect indicative form. So this is a very quick way of finding words, right-clicking on them and then searching for them. Now, a second way of searching in Accordance Bible software is to utilize here this command line. This command line consists basically of three elements. Element number one is the actual text that you are that you want to search in. So here you define the database you want to search. Then category 2 here is whether you're searching for verses, that is basically text references like Genesis 1 verse 1 or 2 Kings 36, or words. Now obviously Accordance is smart enough to find out that actually some things like, let's say, Jesus is not a textual reference and so on, so it automatically will shift, you saw that, from verses to words. Let's say I'm searching now for Colossians 1 verse 1, it will find, although I was in the word category, I typed in Colossians 1 verse 1, it automatically skips into swaps into the verse category in order to find it. So that's kind of very handy. Now the great thing here about this command line is that you can now search for words and word combinations that you would not be able to do if you just right click on particular words. So for example, we are searching for the word of Paul. Now we can type it in, and now we find all cases in where the word Paul appears. Now if you want to have the word Paul followed, for example, by Spirit, you could say and then Spirit. Now we find all cases where Paul and Spirit appear together. So what you see is that with the word and, I'm not defining a specific order. So in this case, for example, Paul is preceding the word Spirit, Paul preceding the word Spirit, Paul preceding the word Spirit, but here Spirit preceding the word Paul, Spirit preceding the word Paul. So if you want to have a particular order, then you have to choose another command. Well, where did I get that command and from? It just happens to be that I know that command, but all those commands are available here when you go to search, enter command. Here you have all those different operators, how we call them, that you can utilize. So if you want to click followed by, you will see now Paul is followed by the word Spirit. So these cases that we just had where Spirit is preceding the word Paul are all excluded. So let's go back here to our Colossians 1 verse 1 text. Colossians 1. So the interesting thing here in Colossians 1 verse 1 is that the apposition to Paul, namely Paul, apostle of Christ Jesus, doesn't have an article. So it's not Paul ho, Paulus ho apostolos, Christu Jesu, but it's Paulus apostolos. Now, if you continue reading this sentence, it's Paulus apostle of Christ Jesus through the will of God, and Timotheus, the brother. So you see that Paul, obviously, in this letter specifies or adds a focus on the apposition that belongs to Timotheus. It's not a brother, it is the brother. But Paulus is just an apostle. So that might be an interesting phenomenon. So we could now go and say, let's search for all the cases where actually Paul appears in the context of apostle. So we are searching for Paulus. In this case, we're searching in the Nestle Aland, so we need to make sure that we change the database into the Nestle Aland 28 database. Actually, the Sigler, sorry, Nestle Aland 28 with Sigler. That's what we have open here. Here we go. Okay, and this, let's go back to the ESV. All right. So now we type in Paulus. Paulus, here we have it, and then we want Paulus to be preceded by apostle. That we do by going to search command, followed by, and then apostle, apostolos. Here we go. So let's run this query. Now we find all the cases where Paul is preceding the word apostle. But what we see is that in most cases there are a lot of words that are in between those two words. This is not what we're interested in. We want to have it, we want to have the word apostle being followed directly by we want to have the word Paul being directly followed by apostle. So we go back here to search, enter command, and then say within. Within one word. That basically says that there is no gap between Paulus and apostle. So apostle is really the next first word after apostle. Let's run the query, and here we find a couple of cases. Paulus, apostle of Jesus Christ through the will of God. Paulus, apostle, not from man, and also not through man, but through Jesus Christ. Ephesians, Paul, apostle. Colossians, apostle. So what we see in all the cases where we find apostle followed by Paulus, we find them in the introduction to his letters. So let's see whether we find a case where actually Paul is followed by an article. So in that case, we delete here our apostle and we say that we want to have an article followed. So we go to search, enter command, enter tag, because now this is a morphological, grammatical category, and choose article. So we don't care about the article. Well, the gender should be masculine actually. and the number should be singular, and the case doesn't matter at this moment. So now we find all those cases where Paul is followed by an article. Now the interesting thing here is that here Pauluho logos, this is not an apposition. We have here Paulus in genitive and the word of God. Then Paulus here in neuter, nominative, and then we have a dative here. The only case where actually we find an apposition with an article for Paulus would be in Ephesians 3 verse 1, where it says, for this is how the ESV translates it, for this reason, I, Paul, the desmios tu Christu, the prisoner of Christ. So he only specifies his role once, it seems, in the letters when he speaks about him as being a prisoner. He is the prisoner. He's not just a prisoner, he's the prisoner. This is actually weird that the ESV translates this as a prisoner. It should be the prisoner. So if we, let's say, add a text, let's say the ASV, which is often quite literal, how do they translate it? For this cause I, Paul, the prisoner of Christ Jesus. So here we have it correct. Okay, good. So what we saw so far are two ways of searching. The one was right-clicking and then searching for. The other one was using the command line here. The final and third way of searching is actually by using a construct window. And this is specifically interesting when you want to run a little bit more complicated queries. So you go to a new construct, and then our construct will be in Greek. So now what we do is we are having this graphical interface, which makes it quite easy to actually define and put together a query. So let's search for the same phenomenon. We want to have Paulus, here we go, Paul, and then Paul we want to be followed by an article. Here we have the article, and then we want that article to be followed by a noun. Where do we have the noun? Here we have the noun. So now, in order to make sure that Paul and the noun are going to be in congruency, in order for that article plus noun function as apposition, we are going to use the category agree, and we say want it to agree in, let's say, gender, number, and case. Okay, so we want Paul to agree with that noun. Okay, good. So let's run that query. Oh, we have to. Yes, let's run that query. Now, you see all those cases where Paul is preceding a word with an article and then a noun. Well, obviously this is not interesting. Paul and Barnabas and the Barnabas. Paul and the Barnabas. Paul and the Barnabas. So we're not searching for proper names. We are searching for actually proper names. So we could actually also clarify that the article needs to be directly in front of that noun. So here we make sure that the article and the noun are preceding each other without a gap. Okay, so now we could run through all those queries, and what we will see is that Paul is followed by an article, as long as it's not a proper name, when it's defining another participant with an apposition. So it's Timotheus, the brother, but Christ just a prisoner, or but Paul is just a prisoner. Or here Colossians 1 verse 1, we had that already. Paul, an apostle, but Timotheus, the brother. The only exception was Ephesians 3 verse 1. Paulus is the prisoner. But here Paulus, an apostle, but Timotheus, the brother. and here again, yeah. So we could summarize and say that whenever Sostenos, the brother, whenever Paul is speaking about himself, he doesn't put attention on his role as an apostle. He considers himself, he regards himself just as one of the many apostles. But when he speaks about his brothers and his accomplices and his partners, like Timotheus, then he is going to describe them as the recognizable brother, the recognizable apostle, the important person, while he himself underestimates his own role. So okay, these are the three different types of queries that are available for you. Going for a simple word search, you just right click and then click on search for word, or you use the command line. And here it's important that you know that you have different command symbols and tags that you can utilize. And then here we have the construct window, which I really like to use when we are going to search for things that are a little bit more complicated than just one or two words in relationship to each other. Okay, I hope that was helpful.